Good morning. The following information, while disturbing, is discernible to anyone who looks at this logically. But the initial theory, in order to consider the perspective, is largely unavailable. That's the reason for me posting this video. Trying to think of what I'm going to call it. Rupert, racism, Rush, and Russia. Oh yes, 4 R's. Beware of the big glowing red R. Oh yeah. So here's the deal. Whether the appropriate name to call these people, whether this is the name they call themselves, the name that is most easily designated to this particular group of fuckers is Khazaria. Because for me, that Khaz is a reference to Hazor or Hathor, okay? And let's just say evil goddess bitches don't die. So how to relate that to modern times? It's appropriate in relating that to modern times, should I say? It's appropriate to use the word Khazaria or Khazaria rather than Khaz, because Khaz is, well, intentionally associated with a segment of the Slavic people. Okay. Now, what Russia really is, and people need to understand this when they read about the Bolsheviks and everything before that and after. Russia is a group of behind the scenes. Okay, the reason why people think there's a shadow government in the United States, there is a semblance of a top secret level of understanding that you could call a shadow government, but the real idea of a shadow government comes from the people whose strategy it is on a regular basis to accuse their enemy of exactly what they're guilty of. That's how you have all these conspiracies from these Russian propagandists about the U.S. having the shadow government and everything the fucking U.S. does is evil, blah, blah, blah. All right? 500 years ago, everybody was running from this fucking evil empire. That's how America really got started. All right? And for them to be teaching us that the land of the free and the home of the brave is anything but, all they're pointing to is the shit that their infiltrators have caused us over the years, the shit that their influence has corrupted over the years. Indirect and a lot of it really direct. Now, what Russia is really comprised of is this group of, you could call them Muscovites, you could call them Khazarians, you could call them Kazakhstanis, okay? But they are not a people. None of these people are them, okay? You're talking a small percentage. That, just like in this country, there's a small percentage of people who are Freemasons, that kind of thing, all right? And an even smaller percentage of Freemasons who are Satanists who kind of wiggled their way in through semantics. All Freemasons are not evil. Most Freemasons, attention, Freemasons, are heavily misguided. I have thanked you, and I mean that sincerely. You have kept many mysteries secret from yourselves, and appropriately so. I'll say no more. But to cut right to the point of two of the other R's, actually all three of the other R's, Rupert Murdoch is the quintessential Khazarian. He is the quintessential satanic false Jew. Period. And for people to be getting spoon fed Fox News on a regular basis, watch it. You are literally worshiping the golden calf, people. While they use knowledge about you against you in very clever ways, and while some of their reporters are Christians who, like you, are being deceived, the agenda is set by Rupert Murdoch. And beware of the wolf in Blitzer's clothing, okay? Because he is another quintessential Khazar. Now, to go backtrack a little bit, Rush Limbaugh, the voice of conservatism and racism, I don't see him as a conservative personally, because he doesn't really conserve shit. He has done more to destroy the good name of Christianity in this country than just about anyone other than Rupert Murdoch. I am a true conservative. What you kids out there might want to look up is that it's also known as a William F. Buckley conservative. See, a long time ago, there were two opposing philosophical voices that was sort of tearing apart and, in some ways, enabling a Khazarian, subtle, psychological takeover of the Republican Party. And it was this philosophical dispute between Ayn Rand and William F. Buckley. A good historical book that kind of puts it all into perspective, I think, is Getting It Right. It's the last real good book that he wrote. William F. Buckley. Okay? And if you consider yourself a conservative, you should buy Getting It Right. Otherwise, you probably aren't getting it right. So to get back to racism, do I really need to explain? All of these people have promoted, not William F. Buckley, okay? That's called compassionate conservatism with economic strategicness. Strategery? Strategicalism. I don't know. Rupert, Rush, and Russia. That alone would be an organized conspiracy to sow racial division in this country. 3 R's. You got MSNBC. The only way to really understand how MSNBC works is that they are not the CIA and cannot weed out FSB people that get hired there. They cannot weed out Fox and Friends from their own staff. You know what I'm saying? But CNN, man, I hope some people take the power back at CNN. Because gradually over time, Wolf Blitzer, the Reuters trust fund baby, basically, Reuters, routers, roto rooter, um, just fucking weeded Ted Turner out of CNN. Basically, and this is behind the scenes, so it's hard to really reference directly unless you just go and look at the patterns for yourself as far as acquisitions, mergers, and Ted Turner's very telling statements at the time. Um, Wolf Blitzer just pushed him out, and Wolf Blitzer basically has run CNN for quite some time now, which is kind of shitty because Wolf Blitzer's influence the entire time has been to affect embarrassment upon the CIA. Now, you don't know that. All you got to do is just look at everything he's done since the 1980s. In fact, statements to that effect were made when Wolf Blitzer was speaking to the Congress about their coverage of the Gulf War, directly attempting to embarrass the CIA with his statement. Oh, look, only 12 minutes. I thought I babbled on more than that. So, speaking of wolves, beware of these wolves in sheep's clothing. I mean, don't be ridiculous, people. There are literally 900, 1,000, possibly more people that think they talk to God, and all they're doing is repeating the same shit. Okay? And it's all the same shit that is covered by RT. It is all the same shit that is covered by the way, a new version of RT is out now. I think it's called RT Revolution. And it is specifically made. They made this channel. I'm looking from the screen, I gotta make sure my head's in shot, right? This is where the little thing is. They specifically made this fucking channel to sow revolution in this country. How well do you think it's working already? Because they already had a couple channels, didn't they? They had one on the radio and one on TV. And they had a great big influence in what people considered to be the neutral channel, CNN. Well, bold moves, excuse me, bold signals are given before bold moves. All right? You don't provoke somebody until you're ready. Don't swallow any of their bullshit and recognize anything on there that agrees with what you think you already know as bullshit. But go check that out. Try not to give them a bunch of hits. Just scroll through the channel. Get an idea of what they're saying. America's in danger. And there's no one group of people that's responsible. It's a group of demon possessed, ancient, greedy shitheads. Okay? There is no excuse for racism in this country, especially. Because this country would most benefit from living up to its own self-proclaimed values. And I think anyone can agree who lives here, whether or not they're mad at this country or not, can agree that's the way it should be. And if you just take a moment, you might realize, you get what you need. Wait, no. You might realize that the tools towards a path to world peace lie only within this country. The world cannot stop this constant this constant cycle of subtract and divide, of divide and conquer, of conquer and delete, destroy, kidnap, crossbreed, creating slaves and calling them Slavics, giving them a false sense of national pride so they do your bidding for you, just dying by the thousands for your greed. There are many children who will be forgiven. Human and non-human alike. But certain things are inexcusable. And, well, that's all I got for that. I'm going to go have some more coffee. And my next video is probably going to have some notes to keep me on track. So, yeah. Russia. Three-pronged attack on this country. All right? Khazars. The blind, well-intended, but blinded Slavic people who go and fight for Putin. Okay? Stop being his slave. And then you have this pitting of us against each other. Okay? And if we're going to stand up to these other two prongs of this offensive, and there is an offensive ongoing against America right now, okay? If we're going to survive it as a nation, if we're going to live up to our own hopes as a nation, we need to stop this third prong because it's the one that's most under our influence. It's the one we have no excuse but to control. We have no reason not to remedy. There is no cultural disparity as far as behavior and iniquity other than which has been created through societal degradation and intentional, malicious societal manipulation. And there is nobody better at societal manipulation than Russia. And I don't mean if you think you're Russian, okay? If you think you belong to Kievan Rus, You are a descendant of former white slaves, and you should be proud of this. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the current political actions of the new Soviet Union. Okay? So please don't be offended semantically by anything I've said. And if you're one of those bad children, I expect you to do your part from within to ensure the redemption of your families. Time's up.